All right, everyone. We start off today, of course, with the Epstein Unsealing, partial unsealing. You still have Doe 107 involved with an ongoing court case, keeping some of the documents back, but you have quite a haul with regards to testimony and investigation into Jeffrey Epstein. It's pretty much as expected, other than Dershowitz actually getting exonerated. He is a happy man, actually, right now, so... congrats to him. You don't diddle kids. You don't go to Rape Island. Wow. By the way, Trump being cleared as well. An official testimony of people saying, no, he was never there. We didn't see him there. I didn't massage him. I didn't screw him. He gave testimony openly and willingly and was the only high-profile individual, according to one of the investigators actually at the time, who actually gave testimony against Jeffrey Epstein in the depositions in the late 2000s. So it's not really a surprise that Donald Trump has been cleared of any wrongdoing. By the way, both the DeSantis fans and the legacy media are reacting exactly the same way by reporting that Donald Trump has been named in these documents without giving the further explanation. Yeah, he was named because he was specifically and explicitly exonerated by one of the people who was at the island, as having not been there. A little bit of an oversight. It might be a lie by omission. We talk about those quite a bit on this channel. David Copperfield was mentioned, by the way, along with Pritzker and a few others. I would point out, and this is why the documents are, to me at least, underwhelming. It's an important story. The exoneration of Trump is important for political reasons, I suppose. Bill Clinton being named as specifically having been there and, done some shady things. We'll talk about that separately because, again, there's a little bit of a linguistic wiggle room there, specifically with regards to the Bill Clinton saga. Otherwise, it's basically as expected. Legacy media and TDS sufferers say, well, Trump was named in the documents, while overlooking why he was named. Prediction fulfilled. Second prediction fulfilled. You've got nothing particularly beefy here. Here's the problem. Somebody can go to Little St. James and not do anything illegal. And in Copperfield's case, probably is the case. I don't know if... I don't think anyone has ever made any allegations against him. He does fucking magic tricks. What Epstein seems to have done... Hear me out here. I think that his thing was that he would throw lavish parties. He got money in from investors and shit, and he would invite the rich and powerful to his island. I think he basically categorized them in two groups. One group are people that he thinks that he can blackmail. So, the perverts, basically. And I'm sure that he did this. This is why you're never going to get the full clientele list or anything like that. He was clearly blackmailing people for self-serving reasons and making a huge amount of money doing so. And I have a feeling that I know the methodology by which he operated. The second group were simply the rich and famous who came to the island. The fact that they went there does not mean that they knew what was going on necessarily. I think that he invited masses of rich and famous people there and then scoped them out, PSYOP style, almost like he was a foreign agent, unregistered or something like that, wink wink nudge nudge. He would scope them out. He would figure out, okay, this person clearly is game for weird shit, like he and Ghislaine Maxwell were apparently into. That person, well, it's just a rich and famous person. Maybe I talk to them later, ask for an investment, or I offer them an investment or something. He's effectively a money trader. So he would, trade money and assets and so forth with the rich and powerful, making a huge fortune in the process. The main derivative for his fortune was the blackmail, though, at least at times. It appears that he operated both sort of on and off the book, so a dual mentality. Even if Trump had gone to Little St. James, and I'm sure that'd be front page news were it the case, and sadly for the TDS sufferers, it turns out that it wasn't. It wouldn't mean that he did anything of an improprietous nature. It could have meant that he was just, hey, I got invited to this island party and we had a barbecue or something. So when I see David Copperfield mentioned, for example, I say, okay, it's mentioned that he was at the island. Is there any further evidence against him? No. And that becomes the problem with any ongoing case, which is that the public is going to automatically assume that everyone who physically was ever there is a pedophile. But that's not necessarily true. Some of the people named, of course, in these documents are victims. Some of them are investigators. Some are people that never necessarily even went to the island. Of course, we now know that Trump and Dershowitz weren't on that guest list, which, again, is really politically convenient for both of them. There's a little bit of a redemption arc, I guess, in Dershowitz's particular case. Here's the thing, and let's discuss Bill Clinton, for example. When we look at Bill Clinton, what's the big news right now? It was alleged by a person who was, again, victimized there, that they were aware that Epstein believed that Bill Clinton liked him young. That's specifically the words. Bill Clinton likes him young. If you assume that Bill Clinton is into little girls, that's pretty telling. If you don't assume that, and the legal system of necessity must put aside that bias, it could be interpreted as, hey, here's Bill Clinton, he's in his 50s, and he likes college-age girls. He likes them to be like 20 or 25. That's not illegal. It might be considered creepy. It might be considered odd. Since he's married, it's definitely adultery, but it's not illegal. In the context of what we're reading there, people are assuming that that means that Bill Clinton likes young girls specifically. So girls, you'd think of, a 13-year-old or something. But that's not actually what's being said. That's the whole problem. And I predicted that that would be the case. This is a legal filing. It's not a clientele list. It's not even a flight schedule or anything like that. It's simply a bunch of legal dance. And we already had this in more redacted form before. We just didn't have all of the figures. The John and Jane Does that were mentioned, they were redacted originally, for the most part. Now they've been mostly unredacted. And that's the only thing we have. Anyway, poor David Copperfield, he wakes up to 10,000 emails claiming that he's a pedophile, and he may have done absolutely nothing wrong. I also suspect that this is a distraction. Right ahead of Iowa. Again, the timing is totally coincidental. The only caveat would be that actually Donald Trump is completely exonerated in these filings. At least particularly in these filings, nobody ever saw him at the island. That's really, really good for him, by the way, because again, you have Bill Clinton headlining as the trending act at the moment, and he didn't fare so well. I'm not defending Bill Clinton, by the way. I do believe he would screw an underage girl if he were given the opportunity, and that probably happened. There may have been blackmail involved there. The specific filing, though, we must put on our legal caps right now. The specific filing that I'm reading does not say that in any way. It says he likes him young. Well, okay, again, you're 40 years old. You prefer to date 25-year-olds. You like him young now, don't you? But you're not breaking the law. You're not fucking a kid or anything like that. You're not doing anything illegal. Depending on the nation. And depending on your marital status, of course, Bill Clinton having been happily married for a very, very long time, since back in the days when he and Hillary looked like a couple of goddamn hippies, actually. You should look up, by the way, their early photos together, and they're fucking cringe as hell. Not that any ones from the 70s weren't, but they literally look like they stepped off the cast of that 70s show, and I've always found that very funny. The Epstein Unsealing's fallout is extraordinary. It's enormous. First, big winner is Trump, Dershowitz to an extent as well. But then you have these other people being merely mentioned in the filings as having potentially been there, and they're assumed to be perverts as a result of that. I'm here to tell you that not everyone that went to Little St. James got scoped out by Epstein. Would have been impossible a task for him to have done so. I guarantee not everyone got an erotic massage from somebody of dubious age. Some people were literally there as nothing more than Epstein brought them aboard to create an atmosphere of eye candy. Look at all the celebs. Look at all the basketball stars. Look at all the politicians and the military brass. That doesn't mean that all of these people were perving out. Some of them did. They probably got blackmailed in the process, but it's not all of them. That's about all. Peace out.